Greetings, Rebel fans. My name is Jason Kelly. This is the Let's Run podcast. Today on the show, we are doing a little bit of a film breakdown, a preview for the conference tourney, and a deep dive into the Reno game and the San Diego State game from last week to kind of get you ready and show you what the Rebels need to do to have success in the conference tourney. So let's get into the tape. So the Rebels started out the San Diego State game employing a pretty good defensive strategy, hedging, as you see Rob Whaley do here, on the ball screens, especially when big men came up. And because of Rob Whaley's physicality and strength against Ledee, he forces Ledee into a rough shot here. Really good defense to start out the game. Next, you see the Rebels playing pretty good break defense, stopping the San Diego State guards from getting in. Rob Whaley, again, is playing very physical with Ledee down low, and Caleb and Keelan are able to get in there and cause a jump ball. Finally, again, you see here Whaley matching up well, hedging at the top of the screen, and just not giving Ledee, if you watch in the center of the paint, any space to really operate. Again, the Rebels play pretty aggressive on the ball screen, hedging, and Keelan Boone has a really good contest, and DJ collects the rebound. Next here, we have a couple of my favorite plays defensively from the Rebels. You're going to watch, if you watch down low, Rob again fighting with Ledee like he did the whole game, and Keelan Boone is an absolute beast on this play. He does a good little fake, a kind of stunt to contest the mid-range two, and then this next play is probably Keelan Boone's best moment of the night, one of them for sure. So you see Rob and Ledee kind of going at it. DJ fights through the screen. If you watch down low, watch Keelan sprint across through the screen and then using those long arms to force a steal. Really great stuff from him. This play, you see Luis's power kind of as an on-ball defender, really disrupting things. And Keelan, Luis, DJ, Caleb, everybody's just locked in. This might have been the best defensive effort of the night, not giving these San Diego State players an inch. They end up forcing a terrible brick from Ledee in probably my favorite moment of the night. Here you see a play in what I think it needs to be Rob's approach for the game. Rob has been struggling with doubles, and Rob is best when he just puts his shoulder down and kind of attacks the paint. While I want to focus more on the offense, this was a great play and really indicative of the kind of thing that Rob needs to do. Coming up here, again, you see Luis with good ball pressure. Rob's hedging on the screen, and DJ fights through the screen and gets a good contest on that three, kind of making San Diego State uncomfortable and trigger happy from downtown. Again, I think Justin maybe giving a little bit too much room there, but a pretty good defense there. DJ keeping active hands and really disrupting the rhythm of the offense. Again, I think that Rob was incredible on this play, not letting Ledee get position and forcing the Aztecs into a rough shot. So one of my biggest concerns with the team, and coming into the year, this was always going to be a concern, but is there isn't really a true second player on the team who can handle pressure. Here we see DJ kind of getting roughed up from behind, but if you watch these clips, DJ is having to do way too much just to get the ball up the court. It is such a struggle, and it's wearing him out. And DJ's already been dealing with some nagging injuries throughout the course of the year. And so I think next year on the roster, a big concern for me, obviously you don't want to take the ball out of DJ's hands too much, but giving him a little bit of help to get the ball up the court is something that's needed. Here you see Kruger try and run a play where DJ is the one inbounding the ball, and he brings Jackie Johnson in kind of as a secondary ball handler, but Jackie just makes one of the most careless passes I've seen this season, and it leads to essentially a San Diego State layup. And this is something that was happening the whole game. San Diego State was bringing pressure, and DJ was being hung out to dry in these tough spots against these incredible defensive guards. And it just kind of let San Diego State back into the game. Here we see one of my favorite offensive sets from the Rebels. They get the ball into the post. Luis Rodriguez, who is on the wing and teams don't love contesting, sprints to the paint, and they get an open three for Keelan. This was from the beginning of the game and kind of shows the importance of the Rebels getting paint touches. and Caleb and Rob being able to pass out of those paint touches. That's going to be the key to beating the Aztecs again. But I do want to go into, sadly, our loss against our rivals up in Reno, Nevada, and kind of talk about our defense and the ways that we were struggling in this game. So something that I noticed all night is that the Rebels were struggling with Reno's heavy off-ball movement offense. Here you can watch, if you watch Lucas above, he's going to get basically 2 off-ball screens, and Keelan can't seem to fight through them. And that's difficult because Reno was setting screens off-ball very well. But it was just kind of a struggle. In this play, DJ is going to get out-physicaled by Blackshear in kind of a mismatch and get taken out of the play, leading to a wide-open layup. Here, Blackshear is going to get the ball, give it out to Lucas, who Lucas was playing incredible this game, and he's going to draw a couple of fouls here by jumping into Keelan. This was an issue that we had the entire game with the Rebels kind of falling for pump fakes, and that led to both free throws and essentially wide-open layups. It was a big issue. This was a play where, again, you have to give credit to Reno. They played incredibly well. And their off-ball shooters were just hitting shots to the nth degree in a really impressive fashion. Here, again, I thought our perimeter defense was struggling coming off screens. And maybe, we were trying to prevent the off-ball, but DJ, I don't know why he was doubling down there in the post. And giving up a wide open 3 on the other side, because DJ is just not big enough that where his contests are going to make that big of a difference. Again, I think Luis does a good job in getting up into his defender space here. DJ is trying to keep up too, but Caleb is a step slow. Coming off the screen, maybe a little bit of miscommunication, and it ends up in a rough shot. Here, again, a pump fake like I talked about earlier with Keelan. Gets Isaiah Cottrell up in the air, and just not disciplined defense. This is what I would call, kind of the Carl Jones stretch, where a lot of times people wonder why Carl hasn't been getting in the games. But this is kind of indicative as to why. Carl Jones gets switched out onto a smaller defender and doesn't get back to crash the boards. Here on this play, again, the Rebels are running switches because Carl can't play hedge defense, and it just leads to an open look because he's a little too slow to get on the contest. Again, this is a switch, but it's with Keelan and Luis, and that's fine generally. Keelan just kind of falls down. Carl gets put in a bad position defensively and just gets cooked by Blackshear. If you want to know why Carl hasn't been getting in the games, that's probably why. He just is a little too slow defensively. On that play, Keelan saw a screen coming and was so focused on the screen, Blackshear noticed that Keelan was not paying attention and just went straight to the hoop. On this play, again, it's a really good example of Reno just cutting and passing well. Keelan's watching. Rob gets caught off a little bit and kind of falls down, is clutching at his leg, maybe cramping, and it leads to an open 3 that Reno just drills. Here, again, on 3-point shooting, you're going to have issues with offensive rebounding, and in this case, some kind of undisciplined defense led to an open pass down into the paint. And so, yeah, that was a very disappointing result there. But I kind of want to go into the second half where the Rebels took a lead, but ultimately kind of squandered it as the game and as the Wolfpack tightened up their offense. Here, the Rebels have the lead. Reno starts passing the ball really well, moving, finding the open guy, cutting well. The defensive possession starts out well with Luis playing good disciplined defense. Keelan, I think, helps one pass away and ends up getting caught in the air on a pump fake, and I just don't think that was a great defensive possession for Keelan. Here's some bad defense on the fast break in a scenario where the Rebels have struggled a lot all year. This is a big issue where Rob and Caleb are struggling handling double teams. Teams are allowed to be physical with them, and are causing turnovers. And if the Rebels can't figure out a way to prevent Rob and Caleb from turning the ball over against San Diego State, they're not going to be able to score enough to win. Here, a terrible defensive position for Keelan. Really, our defense kind of goes as he goes. Luis has been pretty consistent as of late, but Keelan's effort has, I don't want to say effort, but rather attention to detail has kind of waned on and off, and it's hurt the team a lot. Again, Keelan has to be up closer to Blackshear. It leads to an offensive rebound and ultimately a open look for three that kind of put the game out of reach. This would be kind of the last play where I think the Rebels had a chance to win the game. This team doesn't play well from behind. Shane's in the game at this point, gets killed on a screen, a little not physical enough, and then doesn't stay close to his man. So after giving up an easy bucket with little to no physicality, the Rebels' post struggles continue as DJ gets the ball down to Rob in what has usually been a pretty efficient post option. Rob can't handle the double team, and it leads to, after trying to go for a steal, essentially a wide open layup. That was one of Rob kind of struggling with the double team. Here's one of Caleb struggling with the double team from earlier in the game, where Caleb gets the ball stolen from him, can't make the pass out, can't make the read, and that was all she wrote. So let's go over the takeaways for this game. The defense just wasn't up to snuff. It wasn't detail-oriented enough. It struggled with on-ball aggression, as the Wolfpack have a lot of offensively talented players that can just pull up and shoot from mid-range. San Diego State maybe struggles a little bit more with that. But I just didn't think the on-ball defense was aggressive enough, and specifically our perimeter players were struggling to guard Reno's perimeter players. The rotations on off-ball passes, when a ball is swung to the other side of the court, I don't think our closeouts were good enough. Closing out's a really tough thing it's really easy to say in principle, but it's kind of tough to do in practice. A good closeout can both stop a three-point attempt and a drive to the basket, and our closeouts were not quite tight enough, I should say. Rob and Caleb, if they're both struggling against double teams, that's going to doom the offense. If neither of them can handle double team pressure and neither can pass out of double teams, the Rebels' chances of scoring enough to win games are going to be pretty limited. And another big issue was the bench struggled quite a bit. The bench did not score a field goal. I believe that Shane Noel hit a couple of free throws, but the Rebels got into some early foul trouble, and a couple of guys had 2 fouls. And I think that Kevin Kruger, other people have said this first, but I think that Kevin Kruger made a bit of a mistake by going away from his guys with 2 fouls. If you're up by 10, or so points, playing guys like Isaiah Cottrell and Shane Noel and Jackie Johnson is probably fine. But if your team is struggling to score, those guys just can't put the ball in the basket, and they're not good enough on defense to justify being on the court. If your team is behind, Jackie Johnson, Isaiah Cottrell, Shane Noel, these guys are not going to get you back into the game. And your guys with fouls, sure, it may suck to have Luis or Keelan pick up a 3rd foul in the first half, but the alternative is digging yourself in such a big hole that you have no chance to win the game anyway. So you might as well just play them. Something that I don't like about the team is specifically the defense struggles in fast break situations sometimes. Keelan will kind of be a little too passive in guarding the ball. And if Rob and Caleb are turning the ball over, the other team is going to get an easy look on the other end of the court. And so maybe, because Rob and Caleb probably will turn the ball over in the half court, telling your guys to sprint back and get ready to defend the rim is huge. So, yeah, I'm going to have a kind of a full preview podcast prior to the San Diego State game. But it's going to be a tall task. It's going to be tough to beat these guys. San Diego State doesn't lose very often, and if they lost to us, it would be 3 in a row. So while I will unfortunately not be picking the Rebels to win the game, I just don't think that San Diego State will lose 3 games in a row. That does not mean that I am, right, and that San Diego State will win 1,000% of the time. If the Rebels can clean up some of the things they were doing in this game against Reno and play defensively at least a little bit more like they played against San Diego State, the Rebels will have a good shot of winning. Um, the 3-point shot, I think, will be the big equalizer. Will the Rebels be able to shut down Jaden Ledee? Probably not as much as they did in their first meeting. But if San Diego State goes out there and hits a bunch of threes and the Rebels aren't contesting hard enough on those threes, they're going to be in trouble. So ultimately, it's the defense. The defense, this team goes as good as the defense goes. I think that guys like DJ and Keelan are good enough offensively for this team to score enough to win. But the question is, will the defense show up? The Wolfpack averaged, 1.2 points per possession in this game, which is the most that the Rebels have allowed since the last time they played the Wolfpack. And we're going to see if UNLV's defense is up to snuff or not. And it's going to be up to them. They're capable. They can beat San Diego State. Do I think they will? As of right now, no, I don't. But they could beat them. And I guess we'll see if they do or not. So, without any further ado, I want to thank you for checking out the pod today, the video breakdown. I enjoy doing these. They take a lot of time, but I hope you have a wonderful week. Let's go, Rebs. Let's go get this conference tourney, and let's run.